Hello there! Welcome to the jungle and thanks for joining in. So in this first series, we're going to talk about one of my favorite branding enterprises of all time, the Arrow Color Man, and we're going to talk about it in 3 parts. So in this first part, we're going to talk about how advertising began and how it works. Why does it trick our lizard brains into buying things? Part 2, we're going to talk about men's fashion and the role that Arrow Color played within culture and the time it was being produced and worn. And in part 3, we're going to talk about the artist himself, Mr. J.C. Leyendecker, and the ideal masculinity that his ads help define and circulate. All right, now that we know where we're going, let's get to it. Where exactly did advertising come from? It seems to be literally everywhere you look. Billboards, commercials, labels on your pants, the videos that you're forced to ignore in order to get extra lives in Candy Crush. Brands and the ads that create them seem inescapable. Academics like to debate where it all began, but I like to place it around the 1880s. There are, of course, some people and their enterprises, like Josiah Wedgwood, that predated that placement, but that's when the general trend got cooking. Anyways, so this whole phenomenon roughly coincided with the Second Industrial Revolution, Revijunia. So the first Industrial Revolution ran from roughly 1760 to 1820 or 1840, with some wiggly room depending on who you ask. Some big things came out of the OG wave. Textiles could be made by machines, steam power's a thing, iron was cheap and durable as heck to make, and machine tools started to happen. Scale and speed of production for turning raw materials into things were ramped up in this phase, and an almost exponential curve to what it was before these new modes of creation were invented. These developments almost always came at the expense of colonialized areas like India, Africa, Asia, indigenous America, and the lower class people of all races and ethnicities around the world who did the manual labor bits. Revijunia started around 1860 and goes up to World War I, or around 1914. This phase, also called the Technological Revolution, is where we get trains, telegraphs and phones, sewage systems, manufacturing blossoms, and the foundation for what we think of as modern conveniences here in America and Europe are put in place. In a very simplistic outlook, round number A gave Europe and America a huge amount of semi-processed materials. We could take cotton and turn it into yards and yards of cloth very quickly. Round number B gives us manufacturing, things like sewing machines. It changed the scale and speed for turning raw and semi-processed goods into finished products, and it came with a new transportation system. You can make a ton of something really fast, and thanks to choo-choos, you can send it really far, also really fast, comparatively speaking at least. This meant the way goods were sold also started to morph. Instead of making your own, or going to a local market or dry goods store where you'd buy soap that had no brand and didn't necessarily come in individual bars, you could buy Pear soap. It was manufactured in a factory, it's an oval bar, and it's a translucent amber color. What's not to love? Brands started to build up their credibility through advertisement campaigns. Why buy Pear soap when it's more expensive than the locally made kind, or the stuff you make yourself? Because advertisements convinced people that one product was superior to another. Soap and beer were some of the first items to be branded since they had, and still do have, long shelf lives. They don't go bad very quickly. Ads started out being mainly text-based. A lot of the first ones were just words, but graphics gained in importance over time. We currently live in a moment where pictures outweigh text in importance. In fact, we typically privilege video and audio over still images and words. Our videos are also getting shorter to accommodate our shrinking attention spans. Think of Snapchat, Vine, TikTok. But let's get back to this Arrow Collar guy so we can see how advertising works. So here's the original black and white image. It's from around 1913 on the outer edge of Industrial Revolution Junior. And what's going on here? We have a portrait of a handsome, strong-jawed white fella centered and set apart from the rest of the page by an oval rondel. This rondel looks a lot like a frame to me, not unlike the ones you see circling the visage of old Georgie on our dollar bill, or one you'd find housing photographs of loved ones on a middle-class mantle around this time, since photography was one of the new trendy things that was working its way down through the classes. The text around the edge of the oval says, "Arrow, the aristocrat of collars." and the words below, set apart by some elegant scrollwork, state, "Arrow collars are designed for men who are particular in all matters pertaining to dress, and who acknowledge the fitness of no substitutes for arrow. The collar of gentlemen. Cluett, Peabody and Company, Incorporated. Makers, Troy, New York." The rest of the ad is taken up by beautiful vines, echoing a visual language that goes back centuries, like in illuminated manuscripts or books printed by William Morris, which are really just based on illuminated manuscripts. He had a thing for the medieval ages. Now, there's a lot of advertising theory out in the wilds of Theoryland. One of my favorite explanations for how it all works is the rundown presented in Decoding Advertisement, Ideology and Meaning in Advertising by Judith Williamson. It's an oldie but a goodie. She describes ads as signs, which she defines as, quote, "quite simply a thing, whether object, word, or picture, which has a particular meaning to a person or group of people. It consists of the signifier, the material object, and the signified, which is its meaning. These are only divided for analytical purposes. In practice, a sign is always thing plus meaning," end quote. Additionally, I believe the messaging to create a coherent sign for advertising purposes in the early to mid-20th century relies equally on an image and accompanying text to give viewers one unified concept. Each part informs the other to create a stronger case by working together and being greater than either part alone. The signifier in the original arrow collar ad is the color itself. The signified bit comes in through the descriptors, the aristocrat of collars that are designed for men who are particular in all matters pertaining to dress, and Leyendecker's image. The text is given visual value and enhanced by the portrait of my handsome husband from a past life, with his fashionable haircut, snappy tie, and of course, stunning collar. Men viewing the ad think, "Oh yeah, I want to do my best to be like that guy." That strain of aspirational logic still persists in advertising. Think of the Old Spice guy, on a horse, holding diamonds, getting ladies, and so on. The text also channels viewers to purchase by promoting arrow colors as the only choice for men who care about how they dress. "Arrow colors are designed for men who are particular in all matters pertaining to dress, and who acknowledge the fitness of no substitutes for arrow." If you take pride in your appearance, the ad copy proposes that the only choice you can make is an arrow collar, a quality standard for which there is no substitute. But how effective was this ad or sign? Did guys really buy these things? And what exactly is an arrow collar? Shouldn't it be attached to a shirt or something? Answers to these questions are coming in part 2. Later, Gators!